Howdy, I'm Kyle McClinigan, and welcome to this week's episode of the Batt Signal. One of the last things most people want to find when they're running late for class or work is that their mode of transportation no longer possesses the means to transport. Since the beginning of the fall 2021 semester, Aggie Twitter has seen a steady stream of photos, reports, and complaints of people walking out of their apartment only to find that their car's wheels and rims have been stolen during the night. According to the College Station Police Department, from October 2021 to December 2021, there were 30 reports of wheel and rim theft, and they have seen 18 reports so far in 2022. From the Northgate area to Wellborn Road, the sight is often the same. A car hastily rested on cinder blocks with rotors sitting where the wheels once were, leaving the owner not only frustrated but often confused as to how it occurred and what to do next. When Material and Science Engineering Junior Gary Nunez had his wheels stolen, he said his first reaction was irritation.
Just anger and frustration, really. I was just very mad about it for about 2 minutes, and then I realized, well, I can't really be mad over this. There's nothing I can do about it. So the anger just kind of quickly went away, and I just started dealing with it and figuring out what to do next.
Besides the obvious absence of the wheels and tires, Nunez said his vehicle also suffered body damage from the removal.
So other than the 4 tires, I still have to take it to the collision center and get it worked on, but you can tell so the frame is kind of damaged on both sides because of the brick, and then the plastic that's on the bottom part of the car is all damaged as well.
While Nunez said his insurance was able to have his car rolling again that same day, he still had to pay his deductible.
Yeah, so you have to pay your deductible for anything. So I had to pay, my deductible was $500 for the wheels, and then I'll have to do another $500 for any other damages.
After talking with his insurance, Nunez said he got the impression that they deal with this a lot.
Apparently this happens quite a bit. It's what they said. They just had someone from Houston drive out here, and they already had replacements in stock. So he just came out here while I was in class, actually. My roommate was here for it, I wasn't. He just came and put my car on jacks, took the brakes out, and then put the new wheels on. And it drives just fine now. I don't feel a difference. So I called them at 9:30, and I had new wheels by maybe 3. Yeah, the guy who came in to replace it said that he comes up here 3 or 4 times a week to do this.
Oh, wow.
He said it's usually on Camrys, Corollas, Civics.
Nunez said he decided not to file a police report because he didn't think that the police could do anything about it.
Yeah, I heard from other people that couldn't do anything about it. And I also asked my insurance if a police report was even necessary, and he said it wasn't. So I just bothered with that.
Jonathan E. Shugard, a public information officer for the College Station Police Department, said it's important to always report these crimes.
Oh, yes, absolutely. They need to report it. And they actually have a couple different options. If they don't necessarily want to call us, they can file an online report through our DOORS program and input all of that information. The thing is we look at all of those reports, and we look at them, and you'll never know if somebody down the road might have a video of something going on. But if we have no idea that something occurred in that area, then we don't know to maybe go look in that area for some of those things.
Having the information reported is often the key to solving these crimes.
We really encourage people to see something, they say something. If they think it's a little bit off, call us and let our patrol guys go over there. Because we've seen over the course of last couple of years an increase in that, and increased success in patrol officers either stopping the crime before it's fully committed or actually catching up to them and catching them shortly after the crime is committed. So if it happens and we don't know about it and then it gets reported to us, we're going to look into it and see if we can't develop some kind of leads at that point.
State Farm Public Affairs Specialist Gina Elkin said while they do not track the number of wheel and tire thefts reported, they do cover it in some cases. In a follow-up email to the battalion, Elkin said that this type of crime is common for 4 main reasons. Quote, "It's quick. Thieves can steal unlocked wheels in a matter of minutes. Many tire/wheels and auto body shops will buy used wheels. There's no way to track it. There are no serial numbers or tracking numbers on wheels to verify if they were stolen. It's good money. Depending on the model, a set of wheels can be sold for anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. Up next, I'm joined by Nathan Barnell, who's going to read a brief portion of his recent article about a blank canvas, a new monastery that hopes to help people find spirituality in a welcoming way.
Middleweight Urban Monastery sits unassumingly on the corner of North Tabor Avenue and East 24th Street, in a remodeled and partitioned building that was once a Piggly Wiggly, painted white. 3 doors down from the original corner entrance of the building, Middleway's glass reflects a quaint view of North Downtown Bryan over the train tracks, towards Café Capri and Casa Rodriguez. Just out of sight on the adjacent street is the Longhorn Tavern Steakhouse with its characteristic bull's head logo emblazoned on the side of the building, while Middleway sports merely a sign printed onto its glass door. Much like a person's spiritual life, it rests only a couple blocks outside of the exact center of downtown Bryan, nestled right in the community's heart. The monastery presents itself spiritually as humbly as it does physically. Taking its name from the ancient phrase via media, it is a picture of moderation between the high and low churches of the area, and its guiding council stated such an intention. Born of a group of spiritual directors in the Brazos Valley in the Episcopal Diocese of Texas, the monastery is an implement for the group to treat the decline of religion in America, the general dissatisfaction of the public with traditional practices, churches, and church messages. The guiding council believes people are still seeking something, and hope this new monastery can direct them. Quote, "No proselytizing, no telling you how to think, no judging. We allow you to question and discover God alone, but in a community of fellow seekers," the monastery website reads, and council members affirmed in conversations. Co-founder Kathleen Phillips, a spiritual director and former director of the Find School for Spiritual Direction and Formation, said the monastery's origins was an idea that came to a group of spiritual directors somewhat selfishly. During their monthly meetings, the directors came to desire a non-traditional place of worship, study, and spiritual introspection. Despite the title of monastery, Middleway is not the kind of place to see live-in nuns or monks, Phillips said. Rather, it is a quiet center for spiritual reflection and guidance where people may come free of charge to, quote, "experience God the way you need to," she said. The center features a number of means to this end. Beginning operations during the pandemic in 2020, the center's spiritual directors and volunteers lead prayer practices such as Compline, centering prayers, poetry as prayer, and other forms of introspection. The physical center opened in November of 2021 with a small chapel area for group or single use, private rooms where one may meet with a spiritual director or spend time meditating alongside religious icons, a diverse library, and even art stations. Another departure from a traditional religious institution. Periodically, the center's directors and volunteers host workshops of all kinds. The monastery and its free community resources were made possible by the Episcopal Diocese and sponsorship of St. Andrew's Episcopal Church in Bryan. The Reverend Darrell Hay, rector at the 155-year-old St. Andrew's and ex officio guiding council member, said the history of Christian spirituality is deep and wide. As a priest, he naturally believes in the institutional church, but recognizes that not everyone is comfortable or wants to take part in that kind of Christian community. Hay and the Reverend Rich Nelson, campus missioner for the Canterbury Episcopal Student Center, serve in support of the monastery's leadership and as representatives of the diocese. To quote Nelson, "With so many of those other groups people are familiar with, they're trying to get you to believe a certain thing. They're trying to get you to join something, saying, 'You come here and we'll tell you what you need to know.' And I think Middleway is the exact opposite," Nelson said. "It flips that whole model. We're not here to convince you anything or tell you what to believe, but just to provide a blank canvas and some people who have training to be supportive of people in their journey. It is a very different model for engaging with people about their faith life than you find at a church or lots of other Christian organizations." End quote. Middleway is still an expressly Christian institution, Hay said, but that blank canvas, even with its boundaries, can stretch far and wide. Its staff include Episcopalians, Lutherans, Presbyterians, Baptists, and many more, including the disaffected individuals who cannot find a spiritual home in traditional spaces. To quote one guiding council member, Heidi Campbell, a professor in the Department of Communication at Texas A&M and an internationally known author of several books on the intersection between religion and media, she said, quote, "Teaching at A&M, I find that while students may be pulling away from religious institutions, organizations, and formal churches, they're not pulling away from spirituality," she said. "This is the time of year here where they're trying to find their identity, or where they're going to be career-wise, where they're going to be walking. There's a lot of searching happening, and I think having a space saying, hey, you can do that searching, but if you don't feel comfortable doing it in a formal organization that's going to want you to affiliate with them, I think Middleweight is really the dream thing." Nelson said Middleweight is currently working with a group of marketing students from the Mays Business School on how to present itself and what it hopes to achieve to the public, particularly departing from the, quote, typical view of what a monastery entails. To quote Campbell again, I think people want those conversations without the judgment, saying, hey, I haven't figured this all out. To be willing to walk with them and do what spiritual direction does best by fully listening and offering comfort, wisdom, and hope. I think it's so important, Campbell said.
For our final segment, I'd like to once again welcome Michaela Rush and Ruben Hernandez for their pop culture segment, Calculated Culture.
Howdy, I'm Michaela Rush.
And I'm Ruben Hernandez.
And this is Calculated Culture. All right, so we are back. Kyle has allowed us back on the podcast. But today we're going to be talking a little bit about the National Recording Registry, which is part of the Library of Congress. So every year since 2002, the Library of Congress has selected typically about 25 pieces of recorded history, whether it be songs, albums, recordings of presidential speeches, to add to this National Recording Registry. So this range of recordings includes everything from really serious topics like FDR's presidential speeches. They also picked for this year the WNYC broadcast from the day of 9/11.
It even includes more lighthearted pieces of music like Livin' La Vida Loca by Ricky Martin and even Canciones de mi Padre by Linda Ronstadt.
So when Ruben and I were talking about this, we started looking through the National Recording Registry, and then, of course, we started talking about what we think should be on that list, because it's only been going on since 2002, so there's still plenty of more recorded history to add. So today, Ruben and I have picked 2 songs, an honorable mention, and then an album that we think should be added to the National Recording Registry that are not already in there. So I think I'll let you start, Ruben. Do you want to talk about the album you picked
I go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the album that I picked was Fiona Apple's 2005 album, I can't even say it right. Extraordinary Machine.
Yes, and I know you love that album, but, give people the cliff notes about, why you love it so much.
Where to even start? I mean, for me, it just holds so much sentimental value. I mean, it definitely got me through some rough times, especially throughout college. But the best way I can explain it, it's like a pessimist, optimistic album.
Yeah, I really like that.
Fiona Apple is she's an amazing lyricist. Her voice is just so rich with emotion. So all with all of that, and plus the amazing production by I forgot the name of the producer.
I don't remember his name.
I know that he made the post-death album of Mac Miller, his most recent one. John Bryan, the producer John Bryan. His amazing composition of the whole piece. I mean, it has to be recognized by Congress at this point. It's so beautiful, so underrated. So that's my contender for the, National Library of Congress?
Well, the National Recording Registry at the Library of Congress.
Exactly.
It's a very long title. Okay, so for my album pick, I picked Sweet Baby James by James Taylor. This is an album that I associate a lot with growing up, and for a while, I think the first time I heard these songs, I was actually living in Virginia, so I'm hearing this very, folksy perspective. I'm driving through the mountains up in Virginia. But on top of that, there are just some really beautiful examples of a more modern folk song, and I think that it's really great to have this authentic singer-songwriter, but then also he does have some re-recorded things on there, things I'd consider to be American standards. So not only did I pick this because I think it's really important in the grand scheme of American music, but it also just has a lot of really great associations of just happy memories for me, and if you haven't listened to it, you absolutely should, especially if you're going on a drive through the country. It's just the perfect music to just enjoy the scenery that you're
Sets the
in.
mood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So moving on to your songs. What is?
Do you want to go first?
I don't care. Okay, so I'll start with the more lighthearted one. The song that I picked first actually was "I Got You" or "I Feel Good," which is in parentheses, by James Brown. That's the one where at the beginning it goes, "Wow, I feel good." Yeah, it's that one.
Yeah.
Part of it is because it is such a hype song. It always puts me in a great mood, but it's just one of those very standard old songs that I think is always going to be relevant. Like, when you listen to it, yeah, you know it's an old song, no biggie, but it doesn't take away at all from your enjoyment of it. And also, just James Brown's a super influential musician, and so I thought that was a great pick. And actually, it was one that I was surprised. It was the first pick that I made that didn't stump what they already had in the registry, so I thought I would include it. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, my first pick was Nights in White Satin by the Moody Blues.
Oh.
When I told you, I'm not, this song isn't really like my taste in music. Like, if you see my library, it's very mixed, but it's not this in particular. But this song specifically, I do have to say, if you tell me what's the best song ever made, I would have to say it's this song.
Really? Okay,
Yes.
Why is that?
It's, it's ineffable. I can't even describe it in words. It's something that you have to experience firsthand, and once you get it, you get it. Because the way it just depicts, just the title itself, Nights in White Satin.
Come on. Yeah,
the
that's
elegancy,
a great title.
just like, it's just so good. And the string section.
Ooh. I'm a sucker for a good string section.
And there's like a, with the melody, it's a flute.
You don't gotta
exactly.
Band kids rise up.
Band kids rise up. So yeah.
Former and current flute player here. So I don't know. Might have to give it a listen. Yeah, that's a great pick.
What's your second pick?
So my second pick is, unfortunately, with like context of recent circumstances, it's sad. But actually, my second song I picked is "Best of You" by Foo Fighters. So Foo Fighters is a band that I grew up listening to, and when Taylor Hawkins, when the news broke that he had passed away a couple weeks ago, that made me really sad, but it also did, of course, get me listening to these songs that I've been hearing my whole life. And this was kind of one of their first, or the earliest that I remember, of their big hits. And it's not just a big hit because it sounds awesome and it's, easy to just like, get you hype, but the lyrics are really like devastating if you listen to them. And I truly think Dave Grohl is one of the greatest songwriters of our generation. He has such a way with words that I cannot comprehend. And if you have not watched their documentary series, Sonic Highways, it kind of follows Dave around like while he's going through his writing process. He takes inspiration from everything. And even if you don't catch it, every single word that he picks has a meaning to him, and maybe in more ways than one.
I think those are the best types of like songwriters. Yeah. That was that every word has to be chosen like correctly.
Yeah. And I like it because anyone can still enjoy the song and relate to it, but for him, there's so many more layers to that. I think that that's like a hallmark of a great artist. You can make something that's commercially successful,
and then you go spelunking into like the context of it, and you just get more like
absolutely
love for it.
And I just think that because of that, it should absolutely be in the National Recording Registry. Okay, what's your second song?
Well, now I feel kind of
no, you're good.
Kind of superficial.
My honorable mention is stupid, so it's gonna be
my
fine.
second pick would have to be "Love Will Keep Us Together" by Captain and Tennille.
Oh no, I like that.
It's one of like
song,
James Brown song. Like it's just like stands the test of time. You just listen to it and you're just like, it's a good song. How can I not funk to it?
Yeah,
it's basically that.
No, I love that. That's a great pick, and I think so far the Recording Registry is actually a pretty good balance of like serious, like the artistic impact of this thing, and then also like and then also ones that people just enjoy that are very synonymous with American pop culture.
Because that's the thing about art. It can like be either like radically like it has like this meaning and or radically like I did it because it's fun.
Yeah,
like that's it.
And they're both valuable, like both super valuable. Okay, I want to know what your honorable mention was before I make myself look real stupid. So what was your honorable mention?
The disco hit "Doctor's Orders" by Carol Douglas.
Oh, okay, that's actually a really.
Do you know
good
that song?
I do know that song.
Oh my goodness,
I love that.
No joke. If like I want that played at my funeral. Like it's so good.
Why do you want a disco song?
Why not?
That's so funny. But like knowing you, that's pretty on brand.
It's so good.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Okay, so my honorable mention, obviously I had to put a Taylor Swift song in there, but I chose what I think is arguably one of her most iconic songs on a lot of levels. I picked You Belong With Me, because that, again, early hit of hers, all-time banger. Everybody knows the music video to that. You've got regular Taylor with the blonde hair and the curls who's in the band, and then you've got evil Taylor who's the brunette who's the cheerleader. Yes, like... it has a note that says I love you, and she brings it to the prom. Anyways, but I say that to say that was the beginning of her, like, crawl, her hike, her climb to fame. And she has successfully stayed on top of that mountain of success and artistic integrity and, you know, just belovedness by most people, I hope. But I'm super biased. But yeah, I had to put something by Taylor on here because I would be very sad if I didn't. So, yeah. All right, so that is actually all that we have for y'all today with our nominations. But something really cool, if you go to the Library of Congress website, you can actually submit nominations. So after recording this, Ruben and I are going to go submit all these things we just talked about, and anyone can nominate recordings, and they pick, like I said, around 25 each year. So if you guys want to see the full list of the 25 selected for 2022, and then also submit some of your own selections for recorded history, you can go to the Library of Congress website to do that.
So, Congress, if you're listening, consider us.
Please consider.
Dear Congress.
Dear Congress, please consider. All right, that's all we got for y'all today. Bye.
Bye.
This week's contributors are Nathan Varnell, myself, Michaela Rush, and Ruben Hernandez. This episode was produced and edited by Kyle McClinigan.